Speaker.
It's a big word.
Captain, she told you was standing.
Thank you.
The speaker
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm very happy to take a call on this bill and to talk of Labour's support for the bill, but to continue what my previous two colleagues have really started to do in spelling out some of the questions and some of the concerns that Labour has with the bill as it is in its current form, and some of the questions that we'd like to see answered when this bill does go to the Education and Science Select Committee. And as a member of that Select Committee, I'm very much looking forward to this piece of legislation coming to that committee and us having a chance to examine it. Labour knows the value of science and innovation to the economy. We know that if we are going to have export-led growth, we have to get this right. That there is no question that our economic future lies in our ability to commercialise our fantastic science, to get it to market and to build businesses and industry around this science. We know that there is no second chance on that this is a crossroads in our history and this is a time that we have to get it right. But what Labour is concerned about is that this is going to be another science commercialisation strategy from the National Party that will not succeed. We've already seen them in the last 4 years. We've had a whole lot of talk this afternoon about the wonderful record of National and government. But I actually want to have a look at some of the reality of what has been happening with science funding since National came to power in 2008, what that record actually does look like, and to foreshadow some warnings that we just cannot let the ATI go down this path. We've had member after member opposite get up and talk about all the new funding and the increased investment from National. Let's put a reality check on this. There is $166 million going into the ATI over a number of years, but the science and innovation vote only rose by $37 million. And if members opposite didn't realise, science inflation runs pretty high, much higher than CPI, than Consumer Price Index. So let's not get carried away. We do need to be looking at a model that is going to do things differently and something that is going to do it better. And we're not convinced what is currently proposed under this legislation is the way to do it. Because not only was it shifting the debt shares and cribbing money back from other parts of the science and innovation budget, it was also partially funded from the planned sale of assets. So what happens now that it looks like those asset sales are falling over, or certainly have been delayed? Where is that money going to come from? It's going to have to come from somewhere. We have a delayed revenue stream from members opposite, and we're not hearing any talk of that. So we have the shifting of science and innovation funding. We have waiting on the money of the sale of assets that may or may not proceed because they've been rushed and the opposition is going to stop them. And then we also have other money coming out of different parts of the MOBI budget. So let's actually put a reality check on this and realise that it's not the nirvana that members opposite are trying to sketch out. Now, the ATI is in many ways based on the Danish model, and it's referred to often in the government's papers. And the Danes do actually have a very sophisticated innovation network, and their technology institute is a huge part of that. But one of the things that we have to bear in mind is that this is New Zealand looking to implement a model that actually the Danes are moving away from. The Danes are seeing that the absolute provision of science through the kind of institute that they have isn't necessarily the way to do it, and that a lot of it is actually vis-a-vis consultancy and activities related to consultancy rather than direct provision. And this is where the New Zealand model needs to make sure that we think it is fit for purpose for the New Zealand market, that it is a model that New Zealand businesses will engage with, and that it is something that is going to make a real difference. So why is it that Labour is concerned that this isn't going to work? Well, it's track record, really. It's National's track record with trying to come up with new ways of delivering science funding that just haven't worked. I want to look at the technology voucher system that National brought in, with the huge fanfare in the 2010 budget. We were told this was going to be a way for small and medium-sized enterprises in New Zealand in the manufacturing, health and medical technology sectors to access funding. These were going to be huge projects. They were going to be projects with co-funding over $100,000. Well, it didn't work. Less than a year later, this had to be downgraded to $30,000 because the money simply wasn't there. Not only did the money have to be downgraded, but it had to be extended out because the manufacturing sector simply did not have enough money to take up this money. So what happened? It was extended into the agribusiness sector. That once again, it was primary industries that were funded. There's nothing wrong with funding our primary industries, and I'm a huge fan of funding our primary industries. I'd just like to assure my colleague behind me, I could feel the glare boring into my skull from behind. But the point is that this was money that was meant to be about transforming the New Zealand economy and about building up another string to the bow in high-value manufacturing. And it didn't work. It has been a failure. And the concern, the very real concern, is already the ATI is going down this very same path. There is no learning from history for members opposite. The ATI was announced by John Key with great fanfare. It was signalled before the budget that this was going to be about the high-value manufacturing sector. We were told that it was going to be about delivering engineering services, and it was going to be about small and medium-sized enterprises being able to access these services, this technical and engineering and scientific know-how. That we have it stated in what the objectives of the bill, that it is about technology-based innovation. It's all around this engineering. But lo and behold, what has happened? Exactly what happened with the voucher system. We're already seeing that this has been expanded out. We now have basically the FINS, the Food Innovation New Zealand network, folded into it. We're seeing that it extended out, and once again, there simply isn't enough take-up in the manufacturing sector that we're having to extend this out into our agribusiness. Once again, nothing wrong with this, but what we are seeing is that this does nothing to address the structural problems of the fact that we do not have the basis of a strong manufacturing sector in New Zealand. It does nothing to address the problems that my colleague David Parker talked about. It does nothing to address the reasons why it is our manufacturers find it difficult to export. It does nothing to address the lack of capital available to the manufacturing sector in New Zealand. So once again, we're going down the same path, and my very real concern is, in only a matter of a very short time, we're going to see the Minister coming to Select Committee and admitting to us, as he did about the vouchers, that it had been a disappointing scheme. It hadn't been as successful as they hoped. Well, this is not a time for a hope and a prayer. This is a point in New Zealand's history to get this right, for us to do something real and significant about supporting our high-value manufacturing system. We are not supporting the pipeline of ideas. What we have seen from this government is we saw in the budget where they announced the ATI that they're going to stop postgraduate research in New Zealand. If you want an economy based on innovation, then fund people to do postgraduate research. You don't need an advanced technology institute to tell you this, because it ain't rocket science. If you want science and innovation in your economy, have scientists, have technologists, and have engineers. Postdocs are in a crisis in this country. We simply don't have enough funding to be encouraging the level of leadership and the next generation of leadership within the scientific community. Scientists know this, and they are fast losing faith in this government. In fact, the science and technology community has no idea what is happening around the ATI. They feel locked out. Science and innovation needs to be an inclusive environment where commercialisation and the researchers and the scientists are linked up, and not made to feel like something is happening around them and they have no idea. Mr. Speaker, my fear is that we have a government that once again is talking big, the rhetoric of innovation. There are huge promises once again about economic transformation, but they are repeating the mistakes of history. They are going to underdeliver on this unless we make the changes that we need to. We need to be identified as
Sorry to interrupt the honourable member. Her time has expired. I call Scott Simpson.
Mr Speaker, thank you.